Robert was mentioning the other week about his baking skills when in lockdown. Baking has increased in popularity, but really in this island of Ireland we have been baking bread for a long time. It's almost a bit synonymous with who we are. I found that when I was in England a few years ago on holiday and I went into a bakery, it was a bit of a different story. I asked them for a farl of wheaten and a farl of soda, and I got a glazed look. What about a farl of treacle bread or a farl of potato bread? And I had definitely lost them. Things we take for granted, things we eat regularly in the bread line, are not on the scene just across the water. Baking bread, especially of the type I mentioned, has been part and parcel of life in this island down through the generations. Here's something. Our griddle, and that's a well-known emblem for Ireland. This griddle goes back a few generations, probably by its condition you will see, but it's a really good one because it's heavy metal, and you're not going to be able to buy one with the same weight. You might ask what's important about that. Well, it's good because once you put it on a stove years ago or on a cooker today or whatever, it holds the heat, as we say. And when you're trying to bake bread such as farls of wheaten or soda, it helps with the cooking and the quality. Still being used today, and we still bake, well, maybe we's not the word, that somebody else uses it to bake bread. My grandfather told me about baked bread a long time ago. He was born in the 1880s, and I was fortunate to hear some of his reminiscences going back to the early 1900s. And when we have weather like this one today, he would have referred to a June day, a little bit later in time, because being a farmer, it was a time for cutting hay. Now, the hay being made on those occasions was rather different from today. Obviously, no tractors, no machinery, and people went out and just mowed, as they said, a field of hay. And then once dried, it would have been gathered up into haystacks, brought round to the farm, the winter fodder for the animals. But it was quite labour intensive, if you imagine, without the machinery, trying to cut fields of hay. And so others joined in, perhaps farm labourers were employed or neighbours. I remember him telling me on occasion like that, on a lovely June summer day, you got tea in the field. Now that was a phrase. If you come from the countryside, you will understand it going back over the years. Everybody stopped work. They didn't go back home for something to eat. No, time was too valuable. And you sat in the field and the tea was brought to you. Now, it wasn't overly fancy, if I use that phrase. It was basic. It was wholesome. And really, you needed it to give you the stamina for the heavy physical work. He said he remembers sitting on a hayfield. And for some reason, of course, getting tea in a hayfield always tasted better. I don't know what the reason is, but it still might do that with us, with the smell of grass and new mown hay, and you're sitting with friends and neighbours. And everybody got their tea. And he said, I remember my neighbour Bob doing this. And it was a farl of soda. And that's what he was getting for his tea. And he said he looked at it that way. And then he turned it around this way. And then he looked again from this side before he did anything, because it was probably much larger than this one. It was a case of, well, what side will it start? And there would have been butter and jam, and that was seen as their feast. And the bread was eaten. And everybody satisfied up again for a day's work. A little phrase maybe came from that background A proverb goes like this. Maybe you know it if you're old enough. Eaten bread, soon forgotten. And it meant that when someone had had their bread and eaten, and they went back again to do their work, after a bit of time, that was forgotten. And you were ready for the next one, whatever that meal might be. The bread eaten, there was the bread forgotten. What's next? And it's trying to point out that sometimes in life we get things that help us, bless us, people come to help us, and we appreciate it there and then. But after a period of time, it's like bread eaten. It's forgotten. And they are forgotten, and we begin to say, oh, what's next? As if that has gone. In the Bible, if I go way back to the Old Testament, the early books at the beginning, you will see that phrase, not a few hundred years, but several thousand years coming out of these verses. It refers to the people of Israel and God taking them out of Egypt where they'd been in slavery and had nothing, promising them a new land where they would be able to have a new beginning. And in going to that new promised land, as the people of Israel, led by God, we read these words from God to them. It's a book called Deuteronomy, and it's the 8th chapter, and I just read a few verses from the passage. For the Lord your God is bringing you into a good land, a land with streams and pools of water, a land with wheat and barley, a land where bread will not be scarce, and you will lack nothing. Now, when you have eaten and you are satisfied, praise the Lord your God for the good land he has given you, and be careful that you do not forget the Lord your God. Otherwise, when you eat and are satisfied, when you build fine houses and you settle down, and all you have is multiplied, then your heart will become proud, and you will forget the Lord your God. As if God said to them, eaten bread is soon forgotten. These have been and maybe still are difficult times. And we are so thankful for the blessings we have in this part of the world, or the good things, if we put it in that language. And we have expressed our thanks, our gratitude to the National Health Service and to all who have been at the front line, and we have said, well, we'll never forget. I hope as the years might pass and things level out and we look for better times, that we will not be in a position of saying, eaten bread, soon forgotten. But rather we will keep looking back and appreciating every good thing done. And so in life, maybe it's with people, or what they have done for us, or things that have been given to us and we've been so thankful at the time, and as the years have gone by, have we forgotten them? Or forgotten all that they have done? Eaten bread can soon be forgotten. And ultimately with God and the people of Israel here, because you know they did forget. And at times they just blotted out of their memory everything that God had done for them, freeing them from slavery, bringing them into a new land, which, as he promised, happened. And they forgot him. And we know that God has done a lot for us. Even when things have gone wrong, as we imagine in life, when challenges have appeared, ultimately God identified with us in the giving of Jesus Christ, his Son, and he presented that way for our forgiveness and a way that we might face death through faith in Jesus and in his resurrection. Let's not forget it. when we come out of this pandemic, as we will, or when things improve and we have plenty of food and we become prosperous, then as he said to them, as he says to us, then do not forget the Lord your God. Well, unlike Bob, I'm not going to do this. And I don't mean our Bob today, I mean of the 1920s version. Which corner will I start? I'll just get the knife, the butter and the jam this lunchtime, and I'll enjoy it all. And hopefully I'll remember, when the bread's eaten, not to forget.